What is a unicorn? When I say you are a unicorn, or when I say a company is a unicorn, what exactly do I mean? That's exactly what I would like to actually discuss with you today, all right? So please grab yourself some comfort food, your notepad, pen, or pencil, sit back and relax, okay? Dimitri here. Let's get right into it. I've been receiving a lot of comments, a lot of inquiries from many different people across the board. And the same key question seems to be brought to my attention. Dimitri, what do you mean when you say you are a unicorn? What do you mean when you say that the XY company is a unicorn? Please clarify. Right away, I would like to say that when I say you are a unicorn, I'm not talking about the new age definition of the word unicorn. I'm going to get straight into it. In 2013, a venture capitalist by the name of Eileen Lee came up with this concept. She says, a unicorn, in her books, is a company, privately owned company, that is not public yet, but has such a potential that the venture capitalist or anyone with access to deep pocket has interest in this company because they see that this company has a potential to be at $1 billion mark. So in our books, a unicorn is precisely the kind of company that has the potential to attract or to whet the appetite of people who have access to deep pocket. And that's what she defined as a unicorn. And it's stuck to the point where now all the venture capitalists, all the people into investment are suddenly looking for this kind of companies, looking for companies across the world that will potentially qualify as unicorn. And the big question is, how big is the idea? So they will look at the idea and to see how big the idea is, to see how big the market is, how big the appetite for what you have to offer is. And based on that, they will simply say, aha, we've done our homework and we can see that your idea is the next unicorn that the market is looking for. So we're going to do anything and everything to be part of this project as far as what you're doing is concerned. That was in the world of business. But of course, over time, this concept came to also be applied to regular companies that not at $1 billion mark yet, but simply have the big potential that people will simply use the expression, yes, such company is a unicorn company, not because the company have reached the $1 billion mark, but simply because they see that the potential is there. The potential is there. Everything checks up and potential is there, and everyone start believing that this is a unicorn company. And over time, this same concept came to be applied now to human being in the concept in the field of human resources. The HR department will look at the potential candidate and simply says, based on what we're looking for, based on the job requirement as far as this vacancy is concerned, X person or this gentleman or this lady has basically as meeting and basically exceeding all our expectations. So therefore, this person is also a unicorn. We're going to call this person a unicorn candidate or a unicorn employee. And so on and so forth. And so now, in the context of mountain of inspiration, when I say that you are a unicorn, I'm simply saying that yes, you may not be on paper at the $1 billion mark yet as a person level when it comes to your idea. You may not be the star as far as your industry is concerned, as a potential candidate for some job out there, as a potential as an employee for your company. But because you have the potential, I'm going to call you a unicorn. So when I say you are a unicorn, I'm talking about your potential. Some may say to you, Dimitri, this is all fancy stuff. I mean, it sounds so nice, but I can't really see how this applies to me, because as far as I am concerned, I sense that I have not reached that level yet. I'm just going to give you a story and I'm going to stop right there. And after the story, I'm just going to give you an assignment as far as this unicorn concept is concerned. In 1872, a young man in Germany by the name of Carl Benz fell in love with a young woman by the name of Bertha. So he went to marry Bertha, and Bertha said, yes, I'm going to marry you. And as I agree to be your wife. And as I'm going to be your wife, I'm also going to make sure that, yes, the dowry I'm bringing for my family is going to be put at your disposal. But not only that, as she falls in love with also her husband, Carl Benz, she said to herself, I see that this young man has a potential. He has bright ideas as far as the future is concerned. So therefore, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all the money, all the dowry money, I'm bringing it to this marriage and invest it in this business. And that's what she did. But unfortunately for them, they got married in 1872, and from 1872 to 1888, this young man kept going from failure to failure. It will try to put something together when it comes to the idea of putting together a car. It will work for a few months, for a few years, and eventually the whole thing will collapse. Either the product was not ready, or simply the corporation around the idea will simply collapse, to the point where this young man became secretly depressed. But in the midst of all this depression, he kept working on the idea of putting together the first automobile. And eventually it happened. But because he was not really all excited about the idea, after all these failures, he was basically second guessing himself. But fortunately for him, his wife, Bertha Biens, in August 1888, she simply said to herself, enough is enough. I've been using hard power on this gentleman. I've been using soft power on this gentleman. And basically, we are not going anywhere. So now I'm going to use smart power in order for things to move forward. So what am I going to do? I'm going to wait for when this gentleman, Carl Benz, is going to be out of the house. I'm going to take the car, and when I take it for, oh my goodness, when I take it for a ride around town so that people can see how fabulous my husband is. And guess what? She did that, and as the publicity started, it stood out to the point where orders start coming one after the other, and the interest in this idea basically grew exponentially to the point where the company Benz came to be officially be born. That was in 1888. August 1888. But why 1888 is so particularly important? Because in September 1888, somewhere in London, was born a young boy in a very prosperous family. No money issue at all. By the name of Walter Owen. Walter Owen, as he was born, he was minding his own business. But at one point, as he was growing, he simply says, my goodness, I feel like I'm also gifted like the Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci of my generation. Yes, we have money, we are fine, but I believe I was born to work with my hands. So he started playing it and fooling around with his hands, to a point where eventually his father simply said, if you like to work with your hand that much, please go right there. He started working in as a mechanic for the train industry, and he did everything he was supposed to do. He started working on engine, and eventually he said to himself, my goodness, I've been working for all these years, working on train, working on engine, but it's time for me now to get into a place where I'm going to be building my own cars. And that's what he did. In 1919, he finally put together his company, and the company was working just fine until, unfortunately, the late 1920s came, and the crash of the market basically came to stop everything. By the time everything was stopped, 1930, the big crash happened. Basically, his company was actually going down. So he needed someone to actually buy him back. And another company came and bought him back. That company was Rolls-Royce. And as they bought his company back, so basically in 1931, so he had only ownership of his company for 12 years. So after 12 years, he has lost complete ownership of the company. And the car that he himself was driving around town had to be repossessed because it was part of the asset of the new owners of this company. And this man was completely devastated. And if I had the ability to go back in time, I will simply go and speak to this young man and simply says, my good man, my gentleman, despite everything that is happening to you, you are a unicorn. It will say to me, but you are crazy. I've lost everything. I've lost my company. I've lost my car. I've lost the company. I'm named after my own family name. I've lost this company known as Bentley. So what do you mean I'm a unicorn? I would simply say you are a unicorn, because the size of who you are has nothing to do with the money that people can put on the table as far as buying your company back. The size of who you are has nothing to do with, oh my goodness, how much money you have right now. That's absolutely not true. The size of who you are is based on the bigness or the size of your idea, because the idea was so huge. This is why you are a unicorn. He passed away in 1971. So for 40 years after he lost the company, the gentleman was basically just looking from the outside at what he had put together and how this company was flourishing without him. But his name stood out. Bentley. And why am I talking about him as a unicorn? Because at the end of the day, it's not so much how much you're going to have in your bank account. It's not so much how much you're going to garner in terms of attention from the public, but it's simply about the bigness or the size of your idea and the size of your potential. When you start focusing on that, my friend, sky is going to be the limit. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Before I go, a couple of things. Number one, your assignment. I just want you to know and think on paper over the next couple hours. Ask yourself the key question: what is my idea? What is my contribution as far as this generation is concerned? Focus on the idea. What exactly was I born to do? In a few different categories. Look at 4 different categories, 4 different places where you can actually make a dent in the universe. Start basically jotting down the big line, the big ideas as far as what you want to contribute is concerned. Just leave it like that and just go back to whatever you were doing. And because the more you can at least have an idea, a general idea as to what you can accomplish, the more you can have a general idea as to what your purpose across the board is. It's simply going to be there as a seed, and the seed eventually will simply come to speak to you and simply say, my goodness, now it's time for you to focus on idea A, idea B, idea C, or idea D. And when you start working on, my friend, what I can simply say, sky is the limit. You're going to come to realize why I've been calling you a unicorn, because that's exactly who you are. All right, I'm gonna stop right here. Before I go, a simple thing I'm gonna kindly ask you to do, because you've been enjoying this program for the past few days. I'm gonna simply ask you to now simply subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, so next time we put together a video, you can be amongst the first one to see the video. All right.